Gil Palmer,
And I'm Jennifer Palmer. We're with Palmer Construction.
and you're tuned in to OnlyRoofers podcast.
Welcome to the OnlyRoofers podcast. My name's Elizabeth, and I'm here with my co-host Vince.
Hi, guys.
Today we are interviewing Jennifer and Gil Palmer from Palmer Construction. Welcome, guys. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So talk to us. Palmer Construction, where are you guys based out of, and what do you do?
Spokane, Washington, and we're predominantly a roofing company.
Okay. And how'd you get into the roofing business? What was your startup?
With Merlin Law Group,
Well, the company used to be a framing company, and then I slowly brought my wife on and kind of showed her how to bid a roof out to keep her busy. And then she turned around and she was making more money than me in my framing company. So she sat me down and was like, listen, we're doing roofing from now on. So I was like, okay, let's do it.
What made you get more interested in the roofing side and make that decision?
Well, in North Dakota, we went to the oil boom for his framing career. There was a shortage of houses over there in the oil boom, and they didn't have anybody to roof their homes. So Gil got out there and roofed a whole bunch of apartments, and I just seen how fast it was and what the turnaround time was, and it seemed interesting.
So you just educated yourself, learned how to do it, and just kept grinding at it?
Yeah, well, actually, so Gil had 20 guys under him, framing some huge mansion, and
Wow.
I had one guy. He was 60 years old to top it off. But we were making his payroll, just me and him, and so I was like, no, we just need to do this.
Going from framing to roofing, what were some of the biggest things that you see going from another trade to specifically roofing, or is a lot of it the same?
I think the biggest part of it was just getting me out of the way, because framing was my love, and I had a passion for building. And then for your wife to come and be like, hey, I'm doing way better than you right now.
Yeah. So you better listen to me.
Yeah, and listen. And so the inner dynamics of it, roofing's less parts than framing, so it wasn't a difficult switch as far as logistics and material and all that, but it was just more of a personal shift.
How did you get him to kind of make that transition? Because a lot of guys struggle with that if they are very passionate about the trade that they're starting in. So him being able to move past that, how'd you get him to, besides just saying, hey, I'm your wife, better listen to me?
Statistics and numbers and showing the profit margins. It's really hard to work for builders. You could be 60 to 90 days out for payment and sitting with all that accounts receivable on your books, and when you're working for the homeowner, you're talking immediate payments. And we're not completely out of the framing, because in our industry there's 100-year-old houses, and we get up there and they have broken trusses, and we're a one-stop shop where most roofing contractors by us are only able to do the roofing, and they don't even address customer structure issues, so we're able to do that too.
How'd you get your crews? Did you keep the crews that were framing and just made them into roofers, or switch crews? Give us that little pivot switch within the employee structure.
Well, so that was a main consideration of me getting out of framing, because that shit is, can you cuss on here?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
It's only roofers.
So, yeah, because it wasn't all easy. Framing with multiple crews is a pain in the ass, man.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So that was the main problem, is keeping consistent workers and crews going to be successful. And so when she proposed the roofing to me, we were already having problems. So fresh new talent. We had a whole new group of guys, different mentality. Still rough as all hell, man.
Who's the boss for the employees?
We share it, but Jen mainly, she's the boss of the office. She's the brains, and I support her 100% in that. I tell everybody, hey, that's your boss, and you're going to listen to her, and if they don't, then I'll step in we'll enforce that.
And would you say is your leadership style, right? Are you managing more men, and how do you deal with that, making them, hey, this is why we're doing this is how we're doing it, this is the switches that we're doing, this is like what I expect from you. How do you communicate that to them?
So one of our core values is communication. So we're big communicators. I think that instilling that from day one, and a lot of verbal communication, a lot of meetings, and then that turns around to getting them to respect you, and you involve them in your processes and procedures. I listen to my guys. I'm not one to think I know everything. They're the ones out in the field. If they have an idea, we have meetings weekly round table to make sure that we're listening to them, listening to their problems, and seeing if there's a solution we can come up with them. So therefore, when I communicate back to them, I have their respect because I listen to them.
Yeah,
So.
that's what I was going to ask you. Do you feel like they have more respect for you because you're able to listen to them?
Well, that and an insane work ethic. She outworks everybody. It's like, it's undeniable. So they can't say shit, man.
Yeah.
They got nothing but
Leading by
respect for her.
example.
Exactly.
That's huge. With roofing in Washington, are there certain things that are a little bit more dynamic, or I know you guys don't get as many storms, more retail. A little bit on that.
It's not hailstorms, but it's
Right.
windstorms.
Okay.
So 80% of our business is insurance work.
Oh, wow.
So that dynamic is still the same
Oh,
as
okay.
what you guys deal with. I think the challenges we have in Washington is weather. Right now there's like a foot of snow.
Nice.
The
Florida.
Yeah, and then Washington's pretty strict in their permitting and inspection processes. So
How drawn out is it to do a complete roof replacement?
I think that during the actual, if it's just a roof, you're getting up there and you're banging it out. If you're organized, you can still get it done the same day, but you have to be very organized because you don't know when the inspectors are coming. If it has structural damage, that could be a drawn out process because sometimes, right now, due to the industry shortages, the cities are experiencing like plan review backups and stuff as well because you have to submit what you're actually doing as far as plan review. So,
Wow. And so let's talk about being married and working as a couple. We've had the pleasure now of talking definitely to a lot more married couples. There's still people out there who don't work with their spouses. What do you guys recommend for people who are working with their spouses, living with their spouses, raising kids with their spouses? How do you guys kind of keep your own balance going?
I'd say trust and respect. Just support. Trusting her to do her job. Not trying to get in the way of that, and then supporting her in that, and also staying unified. Like we're a team, and we're the owners, but like we work together. We'll discuss problems and try not to argue in front of employees and kids. Same thing. She's always pulling me aside. Hey, that's between us. Let's talk about that before we bring that in public or in front of the kids, or so we stay unified.
So staying on the same page, do you guys have like a set kind of schedule or a structure that you do to kind of keep you guys on the same page? When do you like reconnect?
I am big on live feedback. So I don't believe in holding, things that we need to discuss for a long period of time because then your emotion involved or the importance of it kind of starts to dwindle away. So I'm really big on live feedback. So we communicate a lot via telephone, but I would say morning coffee is probably the most for us. The kids are sleeping, we're not at work yet, and we're sitting on the couch and we're talking over
That's
coffee.
sweet.
It never stops.
She
So
says morning coffee, but it's always.
communication.
Gotcha.
At all times,
There's
not every
morning
day.
coffee is all the way till midnight. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Any tips that you guys have for not only for a company that's transitioning from doing multiple trades to narrowing their focus on roofing, but also maybe other couples out there in the industry? What do you guys want to share with everyone?
I think for the transition down to roofing, we've narrowed back a lot of what we do as well, and because it is hard to keep the labor force specializing in one thing or just a few things is a lot easier than spreading that out. Your labor force ends up being different unless you're doing enough volume, right? And in that sense, you would need, I would say,
Managers, leaders.
Yep, departments for every single trade that you do would be important.
Yeah.
As far as working as a couple, I love the way you tell it. He's always encouraging our friends. We have a lot of friends that have businesses and stuff, and he's, get your wife involved, get your wife involved.
Well, it's night and day. I recognize my strengths right away. They stop like really soon. I'm a great installer. I'm a hard worker. But what she brings to the table, the multitasking and attention to detail, which I notice it's a female trait. So like I'm a huge advocate of the female in the workplace, whatever that is. Construction especially, there's so many moving parts to every job that you got to keep track of all of that.
What would you say to the other guys who are tradesmen and very special and maybe single out there and are looking for their future wife? How did you recognize, like, this is my future wife? Like, what does she bring to the table? You're saying you love
Find a
what she
wife
brings
and
to the
operations
table.
manager.
Yeah. How
In
do
one
you
package.
find this dream wife?
We worked together before too, so in a different industry.
Yeah.
Jen stuck out to me. It was her hard work, man. She's a workaholic, but she's also a great, her sense of family values is huge. So we connect a lot on that, and hard work. Like she outworks literally everybody I know. So just that respect and admiration of a hardworking person, that's what I respect, and that's what attracted me for the long term.
I love that. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for sharing. I think I could ask you another 25 questions. But today, thank you so much for sharing what you have with us. Thank you all for watching another episode of the OnlyRoofers podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.